since I came down and met the job, we put the metal works up, and the brick piers were reinstated. And then we also installed the side gate, so you've got an access there. The purpose today is this was obviously all overgrown, and the rubbish was up to the highest level there, so we'll reduce that down. So the idea is that's the path route to connect into here, so that gate will now be usable. And we've also done a gate at the back for security. So I think the biggest thing will be securing off. In the area, like I said, it's kind of like a right of way. I spoke to Chinese people do like to cut through. We've had some residents come through this morning saying, wow, you're doing stuff?
Yeah, great. Yeah. I mean, it's an area that's totally abandoned. So when the houses around were built in the 1980s, this was the contribution to open space, but the developer just did absolutely nothing with it. So it's just run wild for 30 years. But we're now just finishing negotiations, hopefully for them to transfer it to our trust organisation with a dowry of a few £1,000 to start work. We've been really lucky and grateful for Mears. Mears do a lot of work with the local authority on the housing side and have kind of adopted this as part of their corporate social responsibility. So we've got a huge amount of work done for nothing. Gary, Mears have been fantastic.
General manager today, they couldn't believe I could work. This is my break, so keep talking.
Oh, right. So you've normally got a seat.
I've normally got a seat time, yeah. But I do love helping the community, and we're all of us are borough fans. So all these people, they're here for free of charge, giving back to the community. I'll introduce you to the guys.
Yeah, awesome. It's a big project, and he was saying this paint got about 1,000 cans out of it, but actually you can take 1,000 cans out of here and there's still...
And you'd barely notice it.
Yeah.
It'll be layered down, won't it?
Yeah. I mean, that's the second, I was saying, that's the second
a year or so ago.
How long have you been working on this?
We've been working probably over a period of 3 months. We had to get the brickwork, so we didn't do any of this. We've cut it back twice.
Going to run
and we've done probably about 5
engaging with
over the things
neighbouring properties and doing
as long as
things
they
like brain trees or Christmas time.
Really going to put it
all the normal kind of stuff.
Twice a month you're going to be here.
But I'll let Georgina
Just to make people feel that they own it and they use it.
I think it's going to be incremental. I think they're going to see stuff going on, we're going to try and get them engaged, and I think if they see us coming back from the following month,
I took some of the, these have been historical, but we've missed stuff on the edge here.
It's going to be brilliant. It's quite challenging at the moment because people are going to see this and think, oh my goodness me, but actually it's not usable, it's not doing something that's, abandoned.
and that's why we're really grateful to Mears for going the extra mile and doing this bit clear. It's less daunting to the residents getting.
I've seen some big locals, they get quite taking spaces like this. They've started to really get residents in by appointing local key holders and things like that. Just starting to give a slightly wider group of people a bit of responsibility.
And that's the plan. That's the plan. So as the site comes forward, we engage local residents to lock the gates. We've got a kind of one-way gate there, so if you get in, they can get out. You can't get out. So,
And then there's another gate.
No, and if you guys just think the garage, what Mears wanted to do before they sent their people in was just do a sweep just to see if they came up with it. Okay, fair enough. It's just love. With close local organisations like Matthias and Mears and the Forest School that you'll see later, alongside local residents, the local industrial organisation, we'll get kind of a committee up with then engage with residents to take some responsibility They send. Yeah. But yeah, we think we're over that now, and the land should be transferred over the next couple of months.
Are we okay to come in and do stuff?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Keen to get started.
There's no exchange of money involved.
But they're giving us money.
I think they're desperate to get it off their hands.
Yeah,
They are.
They're giving us money.
Are they?
And they're
Oh, wow.
giving you money.
Not a lot of money, but they're giving us a little bit of money.
Yeah, it will pay for the work that we've done for the tree.
Excellent.
So what's the full launch date? When is it? When do you kind of?
Well, we started back this week. We delayed a couple of weeks and getting the work done because we had the contract extension with Furrow. So we're down there now and then putting the plan together. I'll probably go for next week, pick one day so that we get the digger down and that's the path done. And then really it is about, I mean, we can start planning with set days or 2-3 days blocks, but we don't want to start working on areas without knowing, right, okay, we're kind of targeting this area. And then a second area will be here. So the central point here, if I get the digger down and we just want this levelled off, we'll push the earth over so you've got your central area.
Fantastic.
And then I think to be quite here, what we need to do, because obviously we've got to deliver the service at the same time, and we do it, and then we're here for days. So as you bring ideas, if you say we're going to work on that area, but we need like a day down there, can you help us clear this or dig that, we'll come down. So it's just about now, I'm more than happy in the communication. If you decide something and John says to me, Gary, can you send 2 pods down there? We'll have to help.
Open some kind of event here of a weekend, a Saturday, where we actually cut a ribbon, take some pictures, have a cake, all that
Get
kind
kids
of thing.
involved.
Absolutely.
It's a lovely thing to get kids sort of
In fact,
drawing little maps of what they'd like in the area and that kind of stuff.
Andy and I are visiting the local primary school, which is kind of 800 yards in that direction on Monday, and it's one of the
Brilliant.
We had a
Got
word
some before pictures before you started even doing this clearing, because I think we've
I'll see the presentations in John.
Yep, absolutely. Here for the duration. Gary, thank you. I'll be in touch Monday.
Thanks a lot. So what was the thing that you were involved in before Big Local was anything?
The thing that we were involved in, three of us actually ran the cafe during the weekend during the winter, because the cafe was open Monday to Friday, and we ran it 2 seasons. There was a gap of a year in between because there was an arson attack on it, and we were told when we were doing that you would never get the cafe. As I've mentioned to you about Coma, that came along, and Big Local came along and actually managed to get it while they were going to put out the commercial rent at 25k a year. So, it's rent.
Yeah. So you're not paying rent?
We pay a pound.
Pound.
But we're finding difficulty of finding who to get £1 to a year.
Well, you can just put it back into Big Local, can you? Reinvest it.
But
Excellent.
This is to see us, because the idea of anything that we do is to make it self-sufficient so that we can get on with something else.
Yeah. I mean, that was really big but we're always interested in what the differences that the Big Local has made to there's a lot of activity here already. You know, what the Big Local coming in with money and the new structure and so on.
So, as I say, the cafe used to have the cafe has a toilet now.
Yeah.
When the cafe was open, our coach new toilets here. So part of the usage went down.
Yeah.
People come to because Big Local, all of this equipment has been redecorated, new equipment's coming, more people.
All of this.
But all of this stuff has been repainted.
Yeah.
Jeff will show you pictures of it before and after. He's also had a beautiful. Yeah, we have people travelling to come here.
Really?
Yeah. What you can see there, just been done again, that's just
Okay.
talking with some people, and we've got them to come down and they've redone the whole of the entrance. The flower beds there, the paintings on the side of the wall, that's all new.
It's a really beautiful
Yeah, last month.
Finished last Friday.
Yeah.
I'm doing the own quarter. Hello there. Hi there. Hi, I'm James.
Jeff Stringfellow. Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
I heard a lot about you.
Some of it was good. That's Annie. She's the manageress of the cafe.
All right then.
Yeah.
You're right. Make this happen.
Yeah. This is a beautiful spot.
Isn't that lovely? It's one of the main reasons I'm involved in the first place. Because coming down here with my grandkids, there's no toilet, can't sit up, go to rack and ruin. Being retired, it's something that's worthwhile instead of sitting at home and watching TV. The waste. Yeah, it's they're struggling already.
Like rain. And then signs of the rain and all the water on the daily basis.
It's a sensory garden. It's got some nice smells and it's all edible as well. So there is a sign there which says sensory garden, where the kids can go up and general and all the rest of it. We can then utilise some of that for seasoning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You also got Princess Trust down, didn't you? And they
Yeah, they've done a lot of work here. Still a lot of work to be done in there. The Princess Trust are here at the moment.
Oh, are they?
Doing the, we've got TLS as well as Princess Trust. And they're doing the Gentility flying up against the
Oh, yeah.
and he's making a crazy bloom. And there's 5 plants which they visit.
here, one which are then working on which in his own area about community cafes and parks. So we got free training into there, and that got minuted in the count by members and it was all there. And then we heard that they were going to put the cafe out in commercial tender. So we had a meeting and said, oh, this is what members think is happening. Members think that you're going to do community ownership and management. Asset transfer. So what we have it this year because the plans that they had for the area unfortunately haven't come to fruition, and we will take that forward as long as that they're going to give that. So this is set up as a community interest company. Wherever possible, if we have a project that's working well, we want to set it up in its own right so that it can just legacy hold. Jeff has all this front of there, it's been redone, had down here painted this. We put 160 tons of sand back into here, because what used to happen is the kids would run onto there and be a layer of sand about 50 feet, so if they jump, they could go so there's 160 tons. Which we pay for.
I guess tons of sand aren't cheap, are they?
No, well, it originally it started at 120, we got it down to 75, and then Jeff got it down to something like 40 or 35. Yeah, you just talk to people, and you're nice to people. They get alongside the project.
You kind of see this as sort of one of the legacies at the end of the time. You'd hope this would still be running as a viable long term.
And the same with the park, because that will be set up with a constituted body, and that will run, and that will carry on. And wherever possible, we're looking for those sort of things to happen, because our school of social management has. They do it,
Does a lot of this rely on the fact that people stuff? Or
I
you've
don't
got
know.
your workers as well.
The bit about Andy's drive and enthusiasm, as much as anything. I think that's what really helps. And he's also a really good tactician. He kind of admit to it. So has a clear vision of this is where I want to get, who do I know that helps get there, what steps do I need to take. And I think if you think that process everything out. Lots and lots.
So it's all over the area.
So actually, you guys have been interested in that, so haven't you? Because I know you were interested in the history pin
Yeah.
project, which sadly they ended up deciding that they didn't want to do business in the UK anymore.
Yeah.
So it's a real change. I think you and one or two other big locals are very interested. There's definitely something about history and heritage.
Oh yes,
and
very
sort of-
much. Well, Rachel was doing the miracle thing, is doing interviews of people in Grace, getting some idea of the history that's going on. That's going up on your authority as examples of people in Grace. And again, the other thing is, what's it? So Windrush landed about 2 miles down the road there in Tilbury. So everybody's talking about it in the news. That actually landed. What was it like for people? So you've got people from Syria, you've got all sorts of nations represented. What's it like when you came to Thurrock? What was it like when you came to Graves?
And it's interesting, you go on the high street and you do see this area changing. So you go down and you can see that at one end of the street there's a load of shops that are being boarded up, glass legs, and then you go to the other end, these brand new European food shops.
I hope I
No, not quite that far. I was looking over the rubbish, but as soon as I moved to the area, I just started picking up rubbish. I just came over here. Picking out that for 10 years. I actually passed it on quite recently to somebody else. And I was doing that, and then Thames 21 came down, and they did an angle bit right the way through. At the end, I turned around and said, "It's stupid. We've got people from London coming down to pick up our foreshore. We should do it ourselves." And people were there who didn't have another job. So a lot of people that became involved in the cafe were there, and once a month we just started progressively got better and better as you,
Or is it almost running a task that never ends? Is that?
I've got a new problem. I've got a new problem now. I've now got to work out a new process how to get the micro. We're no longer now picking with litter pickers. We're now looking at small stuff.
yesterday I was down at the concrete barges, which is at Raynham, and we've a garden sieve, for want of a better.
It's like gold prospectors, but with plastic.
Precisely, yes, with a ton sack underneath, and we chuck the stuff on top. We hand pick the bigger small bits. Right? So these are sort of the size of the leaves and that sort of stuff. Right? We take those out. We chuck back all the larger pieces of vegetation, so we don't remove those. We then in the tub with the sack, we then have everything which is less than a centimetre. It goes to a centimetre sieve, which includes plastic as well as the bits of the vegetation. And of course, we've got all the flowering as well, which is something which we just can't get. Sorry, we just can't touch, but we're actually catching those.
Steve, do you want to touch on your device, your water?
Well, no, that's exactly what I'm just talking about. So let me just show you.
Yeah, what it's
I'll just show you what it is. So what we did with Dilt's School, which is at South Ockenden, we brought their eco warriors in. They went into the classroom. And then, so 9 children had turned up in their minibus with a couple of teachers. We sat them down and we explained to them some of the issues which we have here. We then each had a clipboard, a pencil and a tally sheet on the clipboard. They then went out, I'd measured off metre squares on using a rope on the foreshore. They then picked out all the pieces of plastic. Now one group of them actually picked up 44 cotton buds in their metre square. Wow. Their rule was they weren't allowed to disturb the surface. They could only take stuff off the surface, because obviously what we didn't want to do was get the kids to put their hands in below the surface. We didn't know what was there. So that 44 probably could have been 66 in reality, because I could have found a load more had we been looking. But they then came back in. The cafe then provided them with some hot chocolate and biscuits. To build schools these days, so you can imagine they went over the moon with their lukewarm hot chocolate. They then came back out. They then did a traditional litter pick along the foreshore, starting from where we had done the survey, working to the other direction. When we got to the end, all of a sudden it was, "Sir," that were the girls, and the boys, it was Steve, as you can imagine, pushing the boundaries as far as they could. Yes, but they were pointing out all the cotton buds on the floor, and I thought, we've won. We've now got them actually looking at something which I didn't see for about 3 months after I started looking at it was actual cotton buds. Because you're looking at, initially we were looking at mattresses, we then got onto plastics, and then eventually we got onto looking at the microplastics and the small stuff, and the cotton buds were down there at that level. So it was about 3 months before I actually recognised what the cotton buds were down at the concrete barges. And the really nice thing was that now all the reeds, they're all taken so plastic sheeting and all that way that was just on the surface. We're now seeing the reeds come through, and actually this very small amount of area where we could actually do our sampling yesterday.
Well,
but where we were sampling, we were picking up the debris off the surface and using the new method to try and sort it. And what we found was 1/6 of the picked up was actually plastic. A large piece of plastic we could actually sort. 50% of it went back as dead reeds, go back and biodegrade. And then 1/3 of it was the micro stuff, which was a mixture of broken down reed, silts probably, and also polystyrene and small pieces of plastic. One thing which I spotted in there, which was interesting to see, were Remembrance Day poppy sticks. Well, I found out what happens to them. They actually go
It's an interesting campaign actually, isn't it, to get the Royal British Legion?
Started up again, so I went along and subsequently become chair. So yes, we've been going strong since
it's one of the best attended forums around here.
Yeah.
And everyone. What have you managed to do though? I mean, some of the stuff that you've done.
So with Steve, who was talking with, we took part in the Great British Spring Clean because we have back alleyways which are unadopted or unclaimed roads, so therefore council won't remove rubbish. We have a very mixed culture in Thurrock and a lot of rented properties, and some are quite a few of them are HMOs. So when they're changing over tenants, a lot of the stuff is being dumped in the back alleyways. So we took part in the Great British Spring Clean, really successful, worked really well, and the council staff were absolutely fantastic. And I mean,
It seems to be a bit of a theme that everywhere I've gone, you take me, there's people who are aiming to clean up Thurrock. So you've got the top of your park, and it still looks like you're scraping the surface.
I've lived in Thurrock for 40 odd years, and I think 7-8 years ago, I was scared to go out, and since everything's really come back up. Everyone, you chat to people rather than everyone just closing the doors and looking.
There's a big local been giving the form.
So we took part in the we put that in the park as well, took place, that was well attended. And we just with the Active Thurrock, we run a grant to help every Saturday morning for the next 6 months, and we're doing and also QG, who are based in Gray's local gym there, so that knows on that was well.
It was double full turnout.
Yeah.
Runs Trump the forest. Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Bodyguard for the kids, that's all I have. Jeanette, she's called pretty very well. Over 2 years of the children. Some of the children we have aren't designed to go to school, and they're very rough. And I think we have an extremely great success rate there. They're at school, they finish school, and some of the really troubled children are now out helping us. They come along to help out. Phenomenally well. Just by taking them outside in the trees, basically. But so how did you come to get on the board? Trees are good, isn't it? I started off like there's an ad saying I just retired from my paint. There was an ad saying we need someone to help with kids, and that was part of my job. I ended up on Riverside community, and then I ended up in their orchard forum as well. It's trees are
So to us it's just marginal cost. Hello Mr. Casey. To us it's just marginal cost. So we don't, the money that we're getting, 5%, we're giving it back to the community. Okay.
The deal for
So we take back the office space or just a price or so it's easy for us.
It's incredibly partnership orientated, big local.
It's the only way it works in Thurrock. And it's one of those places, and you'll notice where you travel about. You can walk through Grays and make judgments quite quick, but actually if you just scratch under the surface, this amazing network of really good people that do really good stuff together. And this is what these guys have tapped into. So
talking earlier to colleagues from the forum about the sense which has been a bit of a turnaround the last 10 years for Thurrock. Almost it kind of reached rock bottom and then
was it the Guardian somewhere wrote a horrible article saying it was the worst place in the country.
Was that the thing that everybody read against the Guardian and was so outraged that they
Yeah.
tried it out? So what was it?
I think it was people realising that actually, because the Thurrock history is that it became a unitary authority in 98, and actually I think at that point people were going, okay, we can be independent as such, not just part of Essex. We are part of Essex technically, but not Essex County Council. And then as a unitary authority you can do things really quick and more efficiently, and the community raised that challenge.
if the government's got no money and people saying, you know, we're not really interested in you, then you find your own solutions. And that's what these guys do, which we then just tap into. Those guys then chuck a little bit of seed money and it just takes off. Which is why there's so many good little projects all over the world.
There's a huge amount of litter picking still.
Yeah, I mean, the plastic bottle thing is quite incredible. Out of the Thames, it's thousands, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's like 50,000. How many bottles are you collecting these days?
Say 45,000.
Is it 45,000? And who was that Famo that turned up? Someone famous.
Zac Efron. So that one turned up. Go to the hand.
They're all going, this is good looking boys. Someone turned up with a pair of wheels.
No, I didn't say that. Yeah. There were two. Same group. We just see it as being a river group rather than a particular place because we're all working together for the same end. But no, Zac Efron turned up, and I didn't know who he was. I'd never seen the Great Showman.
recognise the name.
There were two teenage girls beside me, and they said they were going hyperventilating, you know, they were that excited, and they said, "Is that really him?" And I said, "Do you want his autograph?" So I walked over with them, and I said, "Zac, I have two people who actually know who you are." He's got the biggest insult you could possibly have, with a star.
But no, so there are lots of really this cafe is such a great example. It's part of the
And do you think it's going to sustain itself long term?
I think the council will, because the truth is the income for this, they've reached their
I have no idea, but
so I'm telling people to try something. You can probably just sell ice cream. Oh, even more. But yeah, so there is profit. It goes back to the cheapest company. And then as a result of that, all other stuff like so we set up a school with the local college, adult community college, and all sorts of things. There is that Essex thing, you know, I don't want Essex flying around with it. There is that thing about Essex and the entrepreneurial spirit, and if you do abuse it, you know.
Secretary of the Residents Association?
Yes.
And Secretary of the Community House? Right. So, and how did you get involved in both?
Okay, so, 1 minute. The Community House, I heard that some of the committee members had left, and I knew that they were trying to start up a youth group. I used to work at City Place Primary, and I used to run an after-school club. So obviously that's my background, so I knew what I was doing. So I came over and spoke to Wendy and Elsie, and then that's how I got into that. And then the residents group, I don't actually know how I got into the residents group, it just sort of happened. Yeah. But the chair of the residents group sort of spoke to me about it and said we need someone who can voice their opinion from a younger age. So sort of, that was me. Also, because I've got a child, they wanted a parent's opinion, so a lot of people don't want to come forward. So I'm quite willing to talk to anyone about anything, so that's how I got into that.
Excellent, yeah. And how do you engage with the big local, with Riverside community?
So Andy's one of our trustees as well. They're here.
No, the two I mentioned aren't dealing with this one.
Yes. And also they had funding, before I came, I've only been here a year, but they had funding for Big Local to start up. So they were trying to get the cap up and running. They had a manager that they used the funding to help sort her out and things like that. So.
One of the problems when the trustees took over the building was unfortunately there were a lot of snagging issues which hadn't been resolved, and much of the first 6 months was spent trying to resolve the snagging issue.
Lunch, 12 till 1, 2 o'clock, depending on how long they want to sit and have a chat for. And then we run a youth group 4 to 16 years from 5:30 to 7:30.
But you also want to put more things into that day,
Yes.
don't you? And that's funded by the letting of the building.
Okay.
And Sean will be leaving us shortly to go to have lunch with the mayor.
I am, yes.
Oh, that's
How many pensioners are turning up for the pension lunch?
We have 3 at the moment. We are going to do a big leaflet around to
Yeah.
try and get some more. We had 5, but obviously, depending on their ages, some things happen. One of our pensioners fell over a couple of weeks ago and he's now at home for 6 weeks, so he can't come out.
And the rent out, what sort of things are you renting out for?
So we have a dance group that comes, she does about 4 days a week. TLS use the building
That's news.
all the time.
Right, thank you.
We have a special needs group called the ACE group. They do once a month. And then we have parties and things like that rent out as
So
well.
it's a really good space
Yes.
and really well located as well, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's-
Okay.
Is that
engaged and focused, whilst at the same time being commercially viable, so that you can do things like fix things, clean things, etc., etc.
And then have free events.
I think I'll kind of take is probably that actually most community spaces will need such subsidy ongoing of some sort, regardless. It's very hard to make them completely financially independent because you can, but then all that happens is in order to be financially sustainable, you give over all of your time to businesses to run Zumba, dance, yoga, stuff.
Which is kind of what's happening at the moment, isn't it? Yeah,
and
absolutely.
but for the community, a lot of the stuff you get is the value out of space that doesn't cost anything, where you can try something, or you can develop something, or you can run something for 6 weeks and see if it can come. And when that gets squeezed out, you suddenly have communities that actually lose the ability for people to feel that they can make something happen. So,
They do try to do that balance of both, and originally this building was created predominantly to support Single Rise, which is the estate we walked through earlier. But I mean, one of the many problems on the snagging list, which the snagging list was probably as tall as Shani's. Started off as high as Sophia, it's gradually got bigger over the years for a whole host of reasons. But basically because the company that built it then used it as their headquarters, then it was used by the council, and it was kind of left for a while. So by the time it was handed over to the community, the guarantees for everything had run out, which made life a little complicated. So things like there's leaks and things don't work properly. But also it was built so that it faces the council, not the estate is there. So it's kind of doing that to the estate, looking over its shoulder, and it should be doing that to the estate. It should just a little thing like, if they just rotated the entrance 90 degrees and made it so that it was looking at the estate with, you know, an open door smile, as it were, I think that the community will at least, I know it's a silly little thing in terms of how it's been built, but that just that one thing alone, if you could have changed that, it would just change how the estate feels that it's been dumped in the middle of it, you know, with its back to it, so it's just not engaging. This afternoon's guest, so if I can just introduce Matt and James from the local trust. So Matt is the chief executive of the local trust. James is fairly new to them, although that's so great as part of your baptism of fire.
It is, yeah.
Justina and Cara are 2 people that I work with in the community. So Justina is one of my community translators.
Interpreters.
And translators. I know you prefer interpreting as well, yeah. So it was a project which had sort of started and stalled before I came. So I picked it up. I can't remember why or when or how. Yeah, probably. But I already knew quite a lot of people in the community who had several languages. I'm Irish Italian, married to a Greek Cypriot, so for me it's probably fairly easy, really. So I just started talking to people. I created a flyer, sent that out and around, and that attracted quite a lot of attention. And we had about a dozen. They were all women, funny enough, and I quite quite liked it that way. It worked quite well for some of the women in the group. I think at that time felt a lot more comfortable with it just being women, to be honest with you. So I made a point at that point of then keeping it like that for a while. It has hit another stall, but it's about to come back again. I guess that's kind of what happens. But with Justina, we had talked about taking it a bit further than just translating posters and flyers for the community, because it kind of started off with a group, okay, we've got events going on, can we translate posters and flyers to keep your language communities involved in what's going on? And then it kind of went fairly quickly to the conversations we were having about, well, what does your community struggle to find out about? Because in some cultures, finding out about, well, I need an abortion, where can I go? You're just never going to find that information. I'm a victim of rape, or just I don't know about television licences, whatever it is. But there are some subjects that are a lot trickier than others to try and find out about, even if you're English and you've lived it all your life. So we started having those conversations, and then we talked about, I had a meeting with the council about the translation and interpreting service they use and why they use it and how they use it, and they were actually looking for something else, and we had the conversation that if we could get some people, members of the community, trained up, well, they couldn't tell me what training they wanted, so we kind of invented that one ourselves, didn't we? And Justina is our first graduate. She's been travelling up, she travelled up to London every week. Once a week, which with 3 children was a bit of a struggle. We had quite a few teary phone calls. With
very intense.
But she has just graduated. Yeah. They actually have the certificate. So I'd quite like to have a certificate. Somebody can present it and we'll have a photograph of that. So she's the first one. So she's now a qualified community translator and interpreter at level 3.
Yes, that's what you need now to interpret.
So,
A-level.
Yeah.
So our next bit, as of next week, is basically selling her out to people. So looking at children's centres, various different departments of the council and various different organisations. Well, initially in Thurrock, yeah.
You know, this is where I live, so I'd like to keep it that way.
The initial idea is if we have a group, we could create a CIC. They can then pay people. It can become something that people can contract with because it will be a constituted body. That's the aim. The steps are small as we move towards that aim.
Yeah.
So there are 49 languages spoken in Thurrock.
There are 49 languages spoken.
You speak all 49?
No, just one.
Spoken
So English and Polish.
Oh, yeah.
in the local primary school that's inside the area. It varies. I spoke to the deputy head last week and she said 47. I've heard it 49. It does vary.
But the thing is, a lot of the younger people obviously speak English. Many of the second generation immigrants like me who speak English as their first language, the community interpreters and translators is very often about the first, and also about the older generations, because the older generations, many of them will live and die in England without ever learning much more than the very basic English.
So we have quite a large Nepalese group here.
And I've got a lovely Nepalese lady.
And most of the older ones don't speak anything except for Nepalese. So they're isolated and their community is restricted.
And they're reliant on the younger people. And of course, the younger people, because they're born here, are doing exactly what other young British people do. So they're going off to university and they're going off, and then you end up with them more isolated because the young people who had for the first however many 20 years of their lives had been their interpreters and their translators for everything, suddenly they don't have. So it's about looking at those, but it does take a long time, and I'm sure Justine will tell you, it's quite a lot of time and dedication just doing the training. So
and then to wait for the certificate, it took them like over 6 months.
So
you're just ready to start doing it now?
Yes.
But again, she has 3 children, so it's about, again, it's about fitting around that and working in the community like that. So
but one of the things that's thought that with working with ladies, sometimes they can work at home. And so if there's
over the phone.
If there's information coming in which is being translated, it can be sent in, translated. So we did have a trial of setting up a computer with lots of different languages on, so that you could actually then print it out in that language, correctly in that language, which is
It's
important.
not translation, it's actually a keyboard, so it changes the keyboard to different languages rather than a Google Translate, which we've looked at different translation tools as well, and some of them are really, I got the ladies to look up certain words in their own languages, and some of them like, well, that's not right, you know, and phrases in particular, so it might be okay with one word, but yeah. So we'll come back and you can ask Justin some questions about it. I want to introduce you to Cara. So Cara Thompson is a local artist who has just, she won Thurrock Soup. So we haven't spoken much about Thurrock Soup, but Thurrock Soup is a Dragon's Den style event where we try to encourage local people who've had a good idea to come and present it to a room full of people, including their friends and family. And whoever wins on the night wins the money that everyone's put in, because we ask for a £5 donation for which people get a bowl of soup and a hot drink and stuff. Yeah. And all of that money at the end of the evening goes to the winner. So Cara's a recent winner. And
Does big local supplement it?
It's been run for nearly 3 years now. So it was before the Unlimited came along and made it part of their bundle. In fact, we had Unlimited people visiting to see it in operation because so Connor came through. Our Uncut Studios was one of the first winners of Soup. And it's very low cost, very, very low cost. Again, it rotates around different buildings. We don't always have to pay for that. Some people donate soup. Sometimes they want to make soup for it. So it is very low cost. The other thing that we have been fortunate on a number of times is to get corporate sponsorship. So if we raise 200, a corporate sponsor will match whatever we raise, which means that you're getting a bit of money that is actually usable at that stage. I have no idea how much you've got.
£150.
Oh dear.
That's because we had two winners on that.
Yes, that was two winners.
So
what's your pitch?
Yeah, what was the idea?
Yeah. Tell me about Creative Generations.
So Creative Generations is a project I've started which works with older people and children running art workshops so that they can make art together and tell stories about themselves and kind of bridge the gap to improve everyone's well-being and reducing loneliness.
That sounds really simple, but actually, so I'll just tell you some of the stuff behind it, because that's her pitch, and it doesn't tell you half of the work that she's put into it. Oh yeah, you have to wave your arms around.
So now each Friday the school brings a minibus of children into the communal space, and the tenants come along, and it's all set up with loads of art materials for them. And then I introduce a theme. So we've been doing about school days was last week. So they, in groups, made collages where they showed schools when the tenants were there, so about uniforms and lunch and sports day and all those things. And on the other side of the collage, it was about school today, so they were looking at the differences and the similarities and shocking each other with being caned and all of those things that don't happen. So they're primary school children, there's 2 from each year, from year 1 to year 6. So
which is even more exciting. So you get the 5-year-olds and the 11-year-olds getting to spend time together, which is, if you can imagine, that's like, wow.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
Yes.
And week 1, I went along to, because, technically I am old enough to live in sheltered housing. I'm sure someone pointed that out as well. But, the task was to make name tags, so everyone's paired up. With someone from the opposite camp, as it were, and you get to find out each other's name, find out what the other person likes, and then make their name badge for everybody. And it was like watching a little bit of magic happen, wasn't it? I mean, I heard a couple of boys talking about football. Well, no, I haven't.
And we definitely want to run it again.
Oh,
but the other thing is that you haven't mentioned is that we've put Cara's been put forward for an Unlimited award because we have the 3-way funding for social enterprises. And have you heard anything from it?
I heard this week.
And?
Yeah, I got it.
I kind of knew that was going to happen. I wanted you to.
Yeah.
So how much was that award for?
5,000.
5,000. Which means that you can do
what can I do?
whatever you want, pretty much. So, well, you can take the model and take it everywhere.
So now I can get all the kind of marketing stuff to contact loads of other schools and get them connected, because they all seem to be neighbours, like the shop housing in the schools. Whenever I look one up, there's always one right near. I don't know why towns are structured that way, but it's perfect for what we're doing. So.
But they don't. What's somewhat perplexing, I'm sure we had this conversation back in the early days, is that they're not already connecting. And very often you speak to them and say, "Oh yes, we were looking at doing something like that." You think, you didn't think, you know?
I think I was actually going to ask you about Unlimited and relationships. I think big locals, some have had very, very good relationships and have found it's worked well.
Yeah.
And others have found it slightly more difficult. And I guess that maybe some places haven't been terribly enterprising, or maybe it's not quite, the model hasn't worked. Has it worked okay for you?
It has worked okay for us, yes.
Because it's quite a commitment.
So we actually were successful in the first round of linkage with Unlimited and successful in the second round of linkage with Unlimited. And I think we have a relatively good concept of what needs to be done. We had, one of the things we haven't talked about, what we touched on briefly, is back in year one, we actually spoke to the council about soup, about something that was called Back to Your Future, and about wanting to have a school of social entrepreneurs, because we saw a way of creating a pipeline through so that people would be able to move through. And we budgeted to pay for people that were within our area to go on to the Back to the Future and to the School of Social Entrepreneurs. We pitched a really good time. If you've worked in the council, we pitched in February, coming to the end of the financial year, and they thought it was an excellent idea, and they decided they wanted to fund the School of Social Entrepreneurs for 2 years, and they would get behind soup. The Back to the Future had actually been the idea of the board member, the lady that I mentioned who works for the Job Centre Plus, and she gave advice that you could approach DWP and you could get funding there. So that was funded through DWP, and in the following year, actually this current year, I think was funded through ESF. So though we haven't spent any money on it, it was our idea, and we say we don't mind who gets the glory as long as the concept has been taken forward and it's actually working.